I'm Pelham Jones. I'm the chairperson of the Private Rhino Owners Association of South Africa. The association was born out of need. Insofar as 2008, we were just rhino owners. We didn't really have any great issues in our lives other than just monitoring our rhino and making sure that as custodians, they were doing well. Then late 2008, the first animals were killed on private reserves. And early the following year, we then met as a group of concerned rhino owners, and it became very apparent to me that this was the beginning of the tsunami, as I described it. And when I looked around, I realized that there was no association representing the needs of the owners, either from a legislative point, from a lobby point, from a fundraising control point, or any other point. So we then established the association in 2009, and today we have representation in all the provinces. We serve on all the substantive security structures. That is what we refer to in South Africa as the NatJoc, and then the Prof joints. And we serve on the Ministerial Committee of Inquiry, and virtually at every level and strata of not only security, but achieving informed decisions to the advantage of rhino owners. According to the latest records, we have 339 reserves or farms that have rhino, of which 297 are members of the association. So we're talking about some 95% of all rhino owners or rhino reserves are members of the association. Rhino poaching is not new. If you look back, in Africa are over 100,000 carcasses dot the face of Africa. Animals that have been killed over the last 30, 40, 50 years for rhino horn. Some for medicinal purposes, some for gift purposes, the yambaya, the ceremonial dagger. So there has always been a demand for rhino horn. Up until now, South Africa was perceived as being the tough last haven of substantive rhino populations. Tragically, that has been proven to be grossly inaccurate. If one looks at the distribution of rhino across the face of Africa, now I'm describing now both the black rhino as well as the white rhino. 23 African range states that had rhino were historically ranged territories, no longer have rhino as a result of poaching pressure. Of the 10 countries that still have rhino, 5 of them have got populations of less than 100 animals. Uganda has 13 animals as a country. That's no longer a viable population. So now we have a situation that some 80% of the remaining African rhino are found here in South Africa. So this is what has now brought the poaching pressure into our environment. We are quite uncomfortable about the position of the South African government on a number of judgment criteria. First of all, we don't believe they've taken the crisis seriously enough. We believe that they have been very, very slow in responding to the poaching crisis. We believe that they have been too politically correct, and that certain countries who seem to turn a blind eye to poachers emanating from their countries are not taken to task. Now, we understand aspects pertaining to diplomacy and détente, but even still, if a country is suffering daily incursions of armed groups with military-grade weapons, I'd like to believe we should be a little bit more outspoken about it internationally. A shoot-to-kill policy is not a solution. Whilst it is a strong deterrent, if one looks at what happened in Zimbabwe, if one even looks at what happened in Botswana, Zimbabwe, it's estimated about 900 poachers were killed during their, call it, rhino wars. Did it stop the rhino populations going into virtual extinction? No, it didn't. And the reason being that you have what we refer to as dollar-a-day communities, people coming from abject poverty. And if the incentive offered to them by the middlemen is such that they are prepared to lay down their lives on that once-in-a-lifetime opportunity to get a substantive amount of money for which they can improve their lifestyles or whatever the case may be, the attraction is too great. So whilst on the one side one feels very strongly and would like to support that as a principle, is it a long-term solution? No, it's not. You must also appreciate a lot of these individuals are coming out of communities where our own anti-poaching unit members come from as well. So if your APU team have gunned down a group of poachers, they have to go back to the community and sometimes face the anger of the community. This creates secondary problems of alcohol abuse, they themselves being turned into poacher informers, a breakup of family units, and so it carries on. So more military, we don't believe is going to be a long-term solution.